Hello, everybody.
All right, we are on. It is West Coast Wednesdays with the Weds.
We are so excited to have our camera views back up this week. Kyle has worked really hard. Way to go, kiddo. We've got our overhead, we've got our footwork, we've got our sideways, we've got our front, we've got our mirror. They're back. And we have new curtains on order to lighten up this room, some new lighting.
Yeah.
So over the next couple of weeks, you will see that start to unfold, and we're gonna be back.
Nice.
Today.
So sound looks good. It's looking like it's going all right. We're also working out the sound concepts here. I've kind of kept this kind of close to us so that you guys can hear us a little better. But I'm also mounting that as soon as my mount comes in, so the sound is just going to get better as well.
We're getting there.
Doing our best.
Real quick, this is pre-recorded today, as you know. So we are going to go on to Anchor Play. We are working through 3 different modes of Anchor Play for the leader and the follower, and then we'll show you how we can put them together. Yeah?
Yes. They work together.
They work together.
Well, that's the cool part about anchors is like from the leader standpoint, we get the directive side of it, and from the follower standpoint, there's a response orientation to it that you need to have options for both ends of this, and we want to make sure that we've got
and again,
variances for interpretation.
One of the things I'm going to touch on, it's not just the anchor play for you to practice. This is some drilling. We're also going to talk about how to make good choices with these choices.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're not going to do like a reset in the same way. We're just going to like start and go. Yeah. So I'm rocking some Lake Tahoe this week.
And I am rocking because I am just missing Miss Nancy Red terribly this week. It's hit me real hard. This is a cup that her and Kyle's dad brought back for us when we were like teenagers in love. And this one says Kala, which is Sarah in Hawaiian.
And Kyla is Kyle in Hawaiian. So our names are really close together in Hawaiian.
Isn't that crazy?
Interesting.
Okay. Well, I'll let leaders kick off with To Be Play.
To Be Play.
And I'll be controlling the camera view.
Oh, and Lake Tahoe, I was saying hi to Danny, Fancy Annie.
Aww.
We love you, girl. Missing you. All right, so this week, To Be Play, we're going to be going in simplicity. So this is for intermediate to novice dancers. If you're a teacher, as a upper level dancer, we can always kind of work through our basics to find better ways to move through the dance. Yeah. This is just opening us up to understanding triples, understanding taps, and understanding sweeps. So we're going to be doing it on the right foot and the left foot because I think we could cover the 3-4 with the same concepts. But really what happens is this really comes out of a concept of 8-count swing, which is the double, triple, double, triple, double, triple, double, triple kind of concept that we've worked through in the past. So if you haven't, that was Savannah upstairs. If you can go back and watch 8-count swing. I think that's somewhere back in it's probably a few times back in our history. But go back and look for that. You can even type in a search for 8-count play or 8-count swing, and this will give you a little bit of better heads up of when and why we put certain things in order. But I won't break that down. I just want to go through the structure this week. Yeah. All right. So Sarah, you might need to do some camera work for us since we are doing this pre-recorded. Kyler is still at summer school, and he will be not joining us this week, so he doesn't get paid. I'll still send him his allowance. All right. So what we want to do is we want to probably do some footwork view and some mirror views to make this work a little bit better. So I'm going to face away from you for a second, and if it gets a little quieter, I'll try and yell quite loud to make sure you guys get everything sound-wise. So the idea of just natural anchor is a triple, natural tap is just a tap gather, and natural sweep is just a sweep collect. Now, whether these go anchor and recover the anchor forward, whether they tap, recover forward, side, or back, or sweep forward versus sweep back will be determined based upon where we're headed and where we came from. I know it's kind of a vague concept, but remember, if I'm falling forward to give space to the anchor, I would need to finish my anchor in the front half of my framework. If it's kind of stagnant, it stays more stable. If I have to fill space, it goes back. So remember, as we're doing this, these are choice orientations, not just us being, not planning. But managing, yeah. So remember that when we go to step into like actual movement together, that you're trying to fit this into what your follower may need on the other side, yeah. So we're gonna start with our basic anchor. We've got this, weights on the left foot leaders, natural anchor for 5 and 6. Natural pullback on this for a tap step leaders would be a tap and then a recover back. And then our sweep, if we wanted to be coming from behind, I would never really sweep forward and then pull back. I mean, I can. It doesn't seem like a position that I would usually go from, especially if I feel length out of this, especially with the sweeps, because it's coming somewhere forward. The body position is forward this way. So kind of pulling back like this creates an internal like counter that needs to be adjusted. So if you find yourself sweeping forward, but your follower needs you to pull back, that's totally fine to make that correction. It's just not my norm. Yeah. So let's think of the one back. So what happens is if I'm here and I got myself moving backwards, and I'm kind of being at an angle here. This normally comes from when I'm 3 and I've kind of come from 3 and 4. And as I come back for 5, 6, this would pull away for 5 and then settle back for 6. Remember, trying to draw figures on the ground is something we kind of worked on in the past. Figure skating used to originally be like actually making figures on the ice, not the triple sow cows and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of look at footwork kind of being similar to the concept of creating figures on the ground when I'm doing sweeps, okay? So first one is our pull back in the anchor. So no matter what's happening here, if we check, we moved you out, the recovery point of 6 is the back. So we can break forward 5 and 6. We can break side 5 and recover the 6. We can also just fully pull back for 5 and 6. We've got these. Remember, as we're doing this as teachers, or we're passing this information on, or identifying it in our own body, we have to not be surprised when something new pops up. Yeah. So once again, we've got check back and to recover. We've got side check back to recover, and we've just got pull back in this moment. The other thing too is you can kind of do a hook step sailor kind of style and pull it back into your finish away. All right. Now next is understanding the tap step, whether we tap from the front and back, whether we tap from the side from back, or we tap back and recover back, or hook tap recover back. All optional pieces for us. Yeah. Next is understanding the sweep again. We've got sweep to back. We've got sweep to back, and we've got, I don't know if I can really do this, sweep to back. It almost feels like very Parker-y, doesn't he? It's like very sweep to back. It has like a little reverse. I did. I figured out Parker's footwork. All right, tell me so. That's hard. That is weird. That's a weird like sweep to tap.
It's kind of a cool vibe.
It does. It's kind of, I like that. All right. So once again, from behind leaders, we're back for the 1, 2, natural 3 and 4. Remember, if we check forward, 5 and recover back 6. Do it again. Go back 1, 2, triple 3 and 4. We're gonna out check step on the side, 5 and 6. Now the one that just goes back, 1, 2, 3, 4. Fill that space. Those are pretty easy. We got those. All right. Let's move on. This moves us into more intermediate concepts with the tapping. Remember, tapping in front, tap to recover the 6. We're going to do that first. Back 1, 2, 3, and 4. Tap 5, back 6. Next one, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Tap 5, recover 6. Now the one for the back, 1, 2, 3, 4. Tap 5, recover the 6. Yeah, and we got our taps and our coverage. Now, other thing can happen on 3, 4, so I'm just going to add this in so we have more for the week. If we do this 1, 2, I can either triple recover back to the back. I can do triple recover to the side, triple recover forward. Same thing with the taps. I can tap to the side, tap to the front, tap to the back. Can we do that in mirror mode? Absolutely, yeah. Let's actually do it in mirror mode. Sarah gets to cross in front.
Oh, I had to.
You can't duck underneath that?
Here.
The camera's taller
1,
than you.
2, 3.
Did it work?
Yeah.
It was out time. Okay. So raise your right hand. That's my right hand also. So put your weight on your right foot. Okay. First, we've got the triple. So we're going to think forward triple. So 3 and back 4. Do it again for the side. 3 and back 4. Or forward 3 and back 4.
Can I show that overhead really quick? Because I think they need to see how much you're weighting.
How much I'm going back?
Or not going back.
Yeah, you got it. So there's not a lot of tracking that happens in this. There will be movement side to side and adjustments within this. So I'm going to turn around and face away from you. So we're kind of all going this direction towards the screen. Now what we can do is put our weight on our right side. Once again, this is not mirrored anymore. So right side here, we're going to think for the triple, we're going to think off to the front first. So we're going to be 3 and recover the 4. We're going to think to the side, 3 and recover back for the 4. and we're going to think back 3 and recover the 4. A lot of that happens. There's a small adjustment, but what you're seeing probably, and let me offset this off myself here, is you'll see the adjustment you're seeing isn't a lateral movement like this. That adjustment is more of a tilt orientation.
Yes.
So my foot can do things underneath me within the counterbalance.
And right now you're not talking about completely weighting that foot, but actually just marking it.
I mean, I can triple and I can take the weight, but come back forward for a second, sweetie. Just normal forward. Front cam. Yeah. The weirdest thing about like our movements right now, and when we start to learn this internal counterbalancing stuff, is the tracking of this very stable center that we kind of worked on maybe when we first started learning. I try to break that down early stages of my dancers so we can get the piking and the flex in the dance to be from the lower half orientation. So even though you may see the body up here within the overhead camera moving, when we kind of give it multiple perspectives, we can see that, yeah, the upper body may be moving, but it's just an offset to the understanding of the counterbalance within the body, yeah? So my goal with this is to give you the fishing pole so that as you get into class, you're like, oh, I can point and regather. I can gather, then move myself somewhere. So remember, we can either use the 3 as an action to recover, or we can move to the 4. Okay, so there's different ways that we can look into how this works. But I want you guys to use the fishing pole at this point and learn how to catch your own fish. All right. So normal mode right now, not mirror mode. I want to make sure we're working the 3-4 out right now. So we're going to think of open to close actions. Okay. So from the forward, we're going to think 3 and recover the 4. Or we're going to think to the side, 3 and recover the 4. Or we're going to think to the back and recover the 4.
Can you show that in action?
Yeah, so we either go 1, 2, 3, and 4, anchor 5 and 6. Or we think back, 1, 2, breaks up 3, 4, anchor 5 and 6. Or we can think back, 1, 2, 3, and most people's normal sugar pushes. Mm-hmm. Pretty normal, isn't it? So as long as we start putting ourselves in positions, it doesn't get kind of doesn't become once again foreign to us as we start trying stuff. Yeah. All right. So now we've got the sweeps. Yes. So we did or we do taps. So our taps now. So if we can tap in front to recover, tap to the side, recover, tap back to recover, tap cross to recover. Remember, we're just opening up the space. Now, will we find stuff that doesn't work? Yes. There are times that I'm like, 1, 2, tap, back. Ooh, that doesn't feel like it feels right. But if I were doing something on a diagonal line and I tapped back and came forward, I can find a place where back tap and recovery would work for me, yeah? Now, the other thing I try to do when I'm working with my tap steps to close positions or tap steps to cross positions, I try to picture a wheel and a spoking concept where we kind of have to come back to center before we can redirect off of those moments. So if you can imagine that spoke is kind of here. So if I break this direction, I then have to come back to center point before I can go to any other spoke. Okay, so if I'm tapping out this direction, I can come anywhere else except for the same line. So if my spoke line is this line here, Sarah, can you go overhead for a second?
Yeah.
Thank you. I promise to do it for you. Okay, so when I think spoke-wise, so this foot's back here, yes? I don't have to go across this direction. I can think of back point here, and then I can come back to here and then go back on this line. Okay, so that same line is behind me, but it's not on the same spoke. So if you can kind of see that, if I go from point to back to the same spoke, that tends to have, it has to have necessity. So come back forward, babe. Yeah, the necessity of it is super important. Oh, what we got going on? Front cam. Perfect. All right. Kyler, you're super useful. We need you so much. All right, so what we have with this is the understanding that we don't want to recover on the same line. It would have to need purpose for that action. There has to be something in the music that really drove us on the same spoke, all right? But for the main concept of this is try and re-spoke the action that you created. Cool? All right, so we've got our taps, we've got our triples, now we have to do our sweeps, okay? So sweeps with 3-4, we're gonna think sweep from forward to back, side to back, back to back, behind to back.
Do it again.
All right. Forward to back, side to back, back to back, cross back to back. Yeah.
Wow.
Once again, looking like our Parker 3-4. Yeah. All right, so remember, trying all these actions with both sides of the body. We can't be doing this and just being like, oh, I've never done that one before. I'm going to try this again, yeah? The idea is now weights on the left foot, sweeps her forward to back, side to back, back to back, back behind to back. Once again, looking like Parker. Yeah? So we can put those all together relative to what's happening in time. 1, 2, 3, 4, back, cross. 1, 2, 3, 4, forward, back. 1, 2, 3, 4, side to back. 1, 2, 3, 4, I've gotta back up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah? I know these are kind of open and vague, but remember, when we get to those novice levels and intermediate levels, people just need material, all right? So if we can take students through the concept materials, it makes it so much easier for them to digest what it is, and it doesn't become foreign when they start dancing. Sarah, your turn.
Hello. We're moving on to the followers, leaders. That was awesome, Kyle. Thank you so much. Find that very helpful. Followers, we're doing something fun today. We're calling it 2-beat play. And it's something that I've gone through on our library, but I definitely wanted to cover during our weekly class. And it is about how we can implement shaping into 2 beats at a time, not necessarily playing with the rhythm structure, but playing with the shaping of it. But before we go on, I'm going to talk a little bit on anchor variation. First thing we talk about is conserving rotation at the beginning, at the end of 4. So for instance, if I'm going into a sugar push here, 1, 2, 3, and instead of stepping straight back, I'll turn this right toe out and have a little bit of option of now I've got a hinge point. That hinge point, I'm going to throw us. I like how Kyle said he would totally help.
I'm literally right here. I'm just putting stuff away over here. We got to travel today. What do you want overhead?
I want the mirror. Okay.
I got you. I'm coming over.
So here comes Kyle.
I got you.
Oh, right on the footwork camera.
Did I move it?
I don't know.
Okay.
All right, followers. So mirror mode, right arm up. My right arm is up. We're talking about hinging effect. Let's do a sugar push stopping on 3 and 1, 2, stop, 3 and. What I'll do here, instead of stepping straight back, I'll have a slight opening and allow my body to balance over the open foot slightly. At this point, I can choose to have a hinge point that goes back. I can set the hinge point in the center of my body and just go a little bit, or I can also set the hinge point here. I can give forward.
Can you come overhead real quick, babe?
Yeah, no problem. We'll go overhead real quick, followers, on the hinge point as I go into a sugar push, 3 and 4. I'll conserve that rotation. So if I have a leader that's pulling forward back on the anchor, I can give that space to the leader if they need it. If I'm here and I feel like I'm perfectly balanced and posted on 4, I can then swing this around that anchored point. And then if I feel like I need to move back, I can still travel back and then unfold my anchor into 5 and 6. Again, I'll go this way and show in an underarm turn. As I go here, 1, 2, a leader rotates me, 3, and I won't go square 4. I'll conserve here so that I have the option of, again, giving towards my leader, anchoring right where they've put me, or if my leader still needs me to gather space, I can still unwind and judge that rotation based upon the time the leader pulls me forward. Cool. All right, followers, we're going to talk, you go ahead and go back forward. Followers, we're going to talk a little bit about how I manage, no, we're good. How I manage the 3 and 4 if I do a tap step. If I drive my 3. So something that I really pay attention to is if my leader is still ahead of me and I've got to my 1, 2, and I feel that my leader is still ahead of me, my 3 will tend to always be a driving step. If I find that I'm even with my leader and I've got a nice light momentum, this is a lot of times that I'll use a sweep to a lift to pull in and anchor out. And then if I feel my leader is really asking me to stay in place, this is when I'll hit my tap, gather in to know if I need to put my step here, 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 here. Kyle, can you go overhead for me?
I fixed it.
So followers, I want you to see the difference. And can you come here?
Me?
Yes.
Of course.
Just for a visual.
You got it.
So if my leader is staying ahead of me, we're going to go ahead and have my leader stay ahead of me on the underarm turn. we go. 1, 2. If I feel my leader still ahead of me, even if I'm getting a turn, I will feel that my drive is still driven to the 3 and I won't find myself doing a tap step. If I'm still even with my leader, the chances on my 4, I'm going to be traveling down line, really wanting to conserve that energy because I'm going to need to unfold. Now, if I catch up with my leader by 2, this may be a situation where I'll feel a sweep and a lift and then judge my judgment call on 4 by how much distance. If I get past my leader by 2, this is most likely going to be a tap step.
Or
yeah?
alternates.
Right. All right. Thank you, Kyle.
You're welcome.
All right, followers. So we're going to go ahead and go to footwork view, and I'm going to let you see those visuals. Screen is to our left. I like on footwork view, it is almost my full body. All right, so followers, I'm going to come a little closer so it's easier to
So, because I kicked it, I can see that it's off. I'm fixing it, baby.
It's a little high. It's a little high. There we go. Okay, followers. So what I'm going to look at, I'm going to be going into an underarm turn.
You
If
can
I'm
get closer.
coming in here to my underarm turn and I go my 1, I go my 2. Let's say I have a leader that's now even with me. So I'm not sure if the leader is going to pull against me or step with me. I'll tend to do a sweep to fish the foot out in case I need it for 3. That way, if the leader is late, they can move me over. If not, if I'm here on 2 and I feel that, oh, I don't know what's going to happen, I'll tend to put my foot out with a half sweep. So I'll reach, I'll do a half sweep, I'll pull in and trail my leg, and then I'll make my judgment call. If my leader puts me down here, great. If my leader gives me some distance, or if my leader continues to rotate me all of the way. That's a judgment call before I get to my 5 and 6, yes? So again, we're gonna go into the underarm turn. We're gonna do the sweep. Here we go. 1, 2, I'm even with my leader. I reach for my 3, isn't moving me, my and. My 4, we're gonna make a judgment call that the leader's gonna put it into place. If that's the case, we may not get a lot of room. I make the same judgment call for my 5 and 6. So if I have a leader that I feel like could keep me stationary, I may end up having a tap. If I feel like I'm still driving down line, I'll roll through that foot. But if I feel like it's vague, I'll sweep behind me to wait and see if my leader wants to place me there. If my leader doesn't, it'll collect back inside. Yes? So we're going to pretend as if our leader is posting us. We're going to come through 1, 2. Whoa, Kyle. I've got my sweep. He's messing with color. 3 and 4. I'm going to do another sweep here behind me.
You're going to have to do that again.
Okay, hey, Kyle.
Yes.
Let's not do this right now.
I have to.
Okay, here we go. That's good. Thank you. We're going to come forward for 1, 2, 3, and 4. And followers, here's what I'll fish behind if I'm not sure. 5, and I'll compress into this leg. 5, I'll come in and wait for my leader and then place it down for 6 before I take my 1. Cool. We're going to do this again, followers. Now we're going to do the tap step. We're going to come forward for 1. If I'm past my leader by 2 or they're countering past me, that's when I'll find my tap. I'll keep it close. And then my judgment call will be based upon, I'll let my leader rotate me on the 2, even though I've tapped my 3 to find out where my 4 is. Same here. I will tap and wait for my leader if they're going to go across the slot or behind. A tap step is when I'm waiting for placement.
Can you do it again?
Again, here's our tap
Can
step.
you do back just a little bit towards
Footwork, you're not on the footwork view.
Not anymore. No, I wanted to go overhead because you were doing something. that had a lot
Overhead's
of good-
blurry right now, so can we go back to the footwork view really quick? Thank you. Let's keep the experimenting not on my part. Okay, so followers, we're gonna go back again, and now we're gonna go to the tap spot. 1, 2, tap, step, and I'll pause that in front of me. I tend not to reach behind for a tap step. I'll keep a tap step in front of me so that I can manage the rotation and the tap step. Yes? Cool. Go ahead and go forward facing for me, Kyle, man. Making me miss Kyler. Doesn't mess with my lighting, man. All right, so followers, we're going to go in now and put them together. The first thing we're going to dance on the sugar push on the 3 and 4 and the 5 and 6 is just our basic. Then I'll go to the tap step. Then I'll go to the sweep. Yes? Here we go. Here's our basic on a sugar push. Show 1, 2, 3, turn out 4, hinge point, 5 and 6, underarm turn 1, 2, 3 and 4, hinge point, 5 and 6. Here's our tap step. Ready, go. sweep. We're gonna go ahead and do our sweep. 1, 2. My 3 will be a sweep again. As I'm taking up time, not sure where my leader is gonna put me, I'll gather in before I go back for 4, anchor 5 and 6. Same with my underarm turn. 1, 2. I'll reach 3 and wait for my placement on 4, anchor 5 and 6. I'll do it again with the sweep on the 5 and 6. 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2. Cool. Now we're going to the tap step for the sugar push. That is my judgment call where I'm waiting, tap, step, and my underarm turn, tap, step. Same with my underarm turn. 1, 2. This is if I'm past my leader, I'll tap and judge my rotation, and I'll tend to tap in front so that I can judge my rotation and foot placement at the same time. Followers, now I want to go into something just to play with. I've shared this with you before in past instructions, but I want to give it again today, to be play. So the trick is to do a basic rhythm in place, then a sugar push, basic rhythm in place, and then a pass. Underarm turn or side pass, obviously, same footwork for us. So followers, I'm going to go first. Screen is to your left. I'm going to do a sugar push in place. Tap, triple step, and a basic sugar. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then a basic in place. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Underarm turn. 1, 2, 3, and 4, or a side pass, whichever you prefer. What we're going to do before we've playing with height, rotation, width, changing the 1, 2 to maybe a cross, and then doing a basic 3 and 4, 5 and 6 with the basic in place. Then putting that cross on 3, 4, or on 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5 and 6. Then putting that on 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5 and 6. Just twisting and crossing your feet, playing with those 2 beat plays, doing the same with your underarm turn, moving it on to 5 and 6. What we're going to be playing with today is 2 beat plays with the tap step, the sweep, or a basic. I want you to be making a conscious decision of what you're going to do before you do it. This is you teaching yourself to fire faster and make fast decisions while analyzing what's going on. So this is where we're going to stretch a little bit. I want you to picture that you're dancing with somebody, let's say, that has a shorter slot when you choose to do the tap step. So your 1, 2, 3, and 4 should fit within that. Then you may pick somebody who's leading a longer slot when you tend to do the driving. So when you're doing the 3 and 4, I'd like them to go and you're traveling those triples. I'd like them to unwind longer. Then you may be playing with somebody who's countering you a lot. So there's a lot of sweeps and positioning. And so this is where I want it to have that flavor throughout the whole basic, right? So the first thing we're going to do is a longer one that's driving us. I'm going to do the triple in place. I'm going to pull my rib cage up, my hips back, and get ready to move. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm going to unfold long. Same with my underarm turn. 2, 3, and 4, and unfold long, right? Now we're going to do our basic in place again, and we're going to focus on our sweeps. So we're going to come in 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. Basic in place. 2, 3, and 4. Underarm turn. 1, 2, 3, and place yourself. 5 and 6. Basic in place. 2, here comes our tap steps. It's going to be shorter, probably a little lower in the body. Tap, step, tap, step. Basic in place. 2, 3, and 4. Same with the underarm turn. 1, 2, tap, step, tap, step. Kyle, can you go overhead for me?
Sure.
On the tap steps, what I'm really wanting you to refine is also your placement. It's not just the footwork. It's your body placement with the tap steps, aligning that you're conserving energy. So with the tap steps, for example, in the sugar push, 1, 2, as I hit this tap step, tap, step, I'm still going to have that turn out, even though I'm facing my leader here, so that the unwind to the tap step is in front of my body, and I'm able to manage the rotation. Same with our underarm turn. 1, 2, tap, step, conserve rotation, so that you know you can tap up front and then choose to fold that back, tap up front, choose to give it forward. But that is a placement of also feeding into our rotation. Our footwork And go ahead. Can you go to footwork view for me, Kyle? The angle that your foot lands, your body is going to balance over the top of it.
Take it front for a second or something.
Yeah, no big deal. Can you go mirror mode? That'll help me. I don't need footwork, actually. I need mirror mode. All right, so followers, pay attention right now. Weight your left foot, and I want you to turn your right toe out as far as you can as you step back. You'll see that it'll open you up, right? So now I want you to step back, and I want you to go straight back where your toe's facing forward. And get your head weight over the top of that foot. Now I want you to come back, and I want you to open up your toe just at about a 45 degree. At this point, I'm still projecting towards my leader, and I've got less of play inside my rotation. Many times I find that this isn't accurate enough, the arrow of the toe. So I also pay attention to my leader. If I have a leader that's stepping towards me square, I know my leader is going to not have control of that rotation, hasn't conserved any. It's probably going to get pulled open, or it's going to hold me tight and not let me get to my foot. So when I have a leader who's dancing me square, I'm going to conserve just a little bit less, because I know that we're not playing with as much rotation. If I have a leader that's leading me in and I see them dive this shoulder in, chances are they're going to either post me and swing away, which would require a sweep, or they're going to post me and really feed me long, which would require me really conserving that energy to the end. These are the things I want you to start to pay attention to. Again, a leader's dancing square to you, or if a leader's coming in over rotated, you're probably going to be sweeping or tap stepping, because there's not going to be any room left to give you to that anchor. So these are what I conserve them for. They're not my default rhythmically. They're more my default because of rotation and foot placement. I hope that helps. We can go out of mirror mode. Awesome sauce. I know this is like the advanced version of sweeps, taps, and triples, foot placement into rotation, but this is what Wednesdays are for. So we get to talk about these nitty gritty corners. Kyle, I think we're ready for you to come back out and just put them together really quick so you can see how they connect together.
All right.
And we'll let you get on your evening.
Now, a lot of these, this is more independent, so it's not like these are linking. Now, if you find yourself, followers, that a leader is kind of doing something, and you can see the projection in their bodies that's coming around. So say we're doing a sweep of some sort. I've got my weight on my left foot for 4, right foot for follow for 4, and you can see that body kind of start to enter that action. You can see that this isn't going to be a triple because there's not a vertical initiation into it. You can kind of see that leg kind of tilting and starting to draw around. So that tells you that's going to happen. Now, what you have to watch for is if this doesn't counter back to pull the foot back, you're probably going to feel like you need to gather more space to take away from the leader and maintain distance at that point, okay? This is where it's going to be kind of trial and error, especially from a leader standpoint. Try things out, and if you find yourself crowding your follower, you might be sweeping too close to them, or you might be tapping with your intent going too close to them. What we have to do is we have to make sure that we're judging that recovery for the follower's anchor. Because a lot of times you'll see leaders do something and the follower's like, I wasn't ready for that. And then there's all this adjustment in framework that has to happen. I'd rather maintain the distance of my follower's frame so that I can do something. I can see what their recovery point is. I can see that Sarah needs room for her weight back. I need to put my weight back so that I can make adjustments. Yeah? So our goal in this now is to see if we can kind of adjust these together. 2, 3, stop on 4. So you've got your cameras to the left right now. Leaders, I want you to start to sweep around in front of yourself. Sweep, and I want you to see where your follower's foot is about to land. If it's going to land behind, see how much room you have left in your spool to allow shape to happen so you can land the same way.
Followers, and I'm very much seeing as I'm sweeping, I'm stationary, but I'm also ready. I'm compressing this right knee so that I will start to release and get up into that leg as I start to settle to drag the foot in. So as I'm low, if I see that my leader is still coming towards me, I then can place behind me, where if I'm low and I see my leader coming towards me, I can raise up out of this leg to draw it up underneath me if there's not enough.
So there's also a couple things that are also in play with this. When we've run out of length of arm and rotation, you can almost assume as a follower that they're having to go back at that point. There's no room for extension anymore. So if you find your leader is really extended, their body is already here, they've swept forward, they're out of flight, they're out of everything. You know that when they do this, as they bring this back, you're probably going to have to make an adjustment forward to offset for the partnership.
Again, you wouldn't have to if you properly
Spooled.
spooled.
Yeah,
Right.
That's conserving that rotation, which is the hugest thing that Sarah brings to a dance sometimes for just control. All right, that way you can maintain the look of swing. Right? I think we're good.
I think we're good.
All right, so
It's been great to be back with the camera views. We will have Kyler Red
do me a favor.
next week.
Before you take this to class and teach it, come up with a usable piece together so that you can maintain the understanding of what each does. All right, not that you need to teach the student every single one of these in one class. I would say maintain one action per week. So this week, get on the 4, and wherever you're at on 4, think of sweeps away and then settle back. Making sure when you're talking about this, understanding spooling, understanding extension of arm, understanding settlement of
And again,
weights.
getting these moments to be symbiont when somebody's playing with a lot of sweeps during a dance, whether it's the leader or the follower or taps or driving, whatever the default is in the dance, I find it really helpful when that's established in the partnership. So when I have a leader that's really going to drive these triples or sweep these triples or tap the triples, when that starts to really get introduced at the beginning of the dance, I pay attention to that, create that as my default, and then everything else is a variant, because sometimes you're taking into account speed, you're taking into account space, and more importantly, connection. Sometimes these adjustments are made because of the type of connection the partnership has.
Now, if we're looking at this from an all-star standpoint, because I know a lot of us that show up here also have spotlight times, this would be the difference between having like the freedom of the floor versus we are late night social dancing and it is crowded. Okay, so sometimes we can be super musical with our stuff underneath us so we don't bother the people around us versus it's showtime and I've got to show that there's actions going somewhere. And I want to kind of exaggerate some things that are going on. Yeah?
Love you guys, and we will see you next Wednesday live.
I'm so glad we don't put these on Tuesdays.
Bye.
And we'll trim it out, I promise. Lots of love, people. See you next week.
We should probably let Kylie know.